This makes absolutely zero sense as the FPI rankings are out for week 2 college football. Ohio State's not 1, they're not even 2. It's crazy who's above us. We got to break this down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Columbus Football 365. If you're an Ohio State fan, hit that subscribe button. But let's get right into the news for today. Coming from Sports Illustrated, this week a brand new team ascended to the number 1 spot in the FPI rankings. The Oregon Ducks overtook Ohio State. Dan Lanning's group throttled Montana State 59-13 in week 1 and beat Oklahoma State even worse in week 2 thanks to extra motivation from OSU head coach Mike Gundy's shots fired. After scoring 128 points before their first punt of the season, Oregon feels like a good pick up top. You know what? I can kind of respect the Oregon pick. Continuing with this, Ohio State must not have impressed ESPN's computers despite handing Grambling State a 70-0 loss in the Horseshoe Saturday afternoon. No worries, they'll have plenty more chances to up their FPI score with more meaningful matchups. However, Buckeye fans will be shooting steam out of their snouts over the number 2 team, which is the Texas Longhorns, who, yes, just lost to Ohio State in week 1's mega showcase. But this weekend, Arch Manning responded to the tidal wave of criticism after his Ohio State performance to score 5 touchdowns and lead Texas to a 38-7 win over San Jose State, a more respectable foe than Grambling at least. So, looking at what the FPI rankings are looking at right now, Oregon number 1, Texas number 2, Ohio State is 3, even though they beat Texas, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Alabama is number 4, which also makes zero sense to me, but you may be asking, how are these rankings determined? And I have the definition right here. ESPN's College Football Power Index. It's a predictive model that measures a team's future performance based on past results, remaining schedule, and a detailed analysis of individual game components like expected points added. The FPI uses Bayesian regression to update team ratings daily with 20,000 season simulations to project outcomes and is considered a key metric in evaluating overall team strength. What Bayesian regression is, it pretty much is just more projections. So, it's not that deep. ESPN has models, stuff, computer, spreadsheet stuff that determines how good teams should be in theory and then ranks them in their rankings. But the problem with theoretical and stat sheet rankings like this is football isn't played on spreadsheets. It's played on the football field. One of the number one problems that I have in this is the fact that it literally says past results as one of the things that goes into this model. So how does Ohio State not get more credit for beating Texas? I understand that this FPI, it's supposed to look at it and it's kind of, its goal is to show, like, we saw one game of Texas versus Ohio State, but it wants to show off what would happen if they played 20,000 times and who would win more games in that situation. Now, it was an extremely close game, so that makes some sense, and I guess they're getting a boost because Arch Manning is developing, which our quarterback is developing just as well. Julian Sayin went absolutely crazy yesterday against Grambling State, only 1 incompletion, 306 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Yes, when you're throwing to Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, playing quarterback is pretty easy. Those guys are a lot better than who else is being rolled out against them, the cornerbacks of Grambling. But Julian Sayin is taking steps forward. He's showing that he is able to take full reign of this offense and play quarterback at a high level. I know the good games aren't going to be against teams as weak as Grambling, but baby steps. There's no reason to rush our guy here. We just got to win the next game. That's really all it's about. We got Ohio is going to be the next game on our schedule. Ohio is coming off of an upset. They were a 3-point dog against West Virginia. West Virginia brought in, I think the number was 70 new players in the transfer portal. They were the number 1 most turned over team. So they had the most turnover. They brought in the most amount of transfers and new players of all of Division I college football. So that team, you can write them off. And I'm not super impressed or afraid of that Ohio win. It's kind of stuff. Some of these non-Big Ten teams, it's hard to give more insight into just like there is a very, very small chance that they are ever going to be able to even scare Ohio State, which after watching what has been going on with the guys that we're playing, we're just, Ohio State's going to blast anyone that is not in the Big Ten unless it's a top team like Texas. But the other things coming up when the Big Ten schedule does get rolling, Washington and Minnesota. Minnesota just absolutely blasted somebody. They were up like 59-0 at halftime, which is like that just must really, really suck to be on the other side of. But these pay games, the Power 5 or Power 4 right now, conferences pay these schools a lot of money to come and get beat up on. And, they took the money and ran. But the next game that is really, the team should not be looking at it like this. The team needs to go, 1-0 every week. But the way we can look at it is Illinois is really the next game up on the schedule. Illinois is coming off of the score differential between them beating Duke, between Illinois and Duke was big. The game was closer than that. Duke lost a turnover battle, 5-0. It looks like Darian Mensah, their new transfer quarterback out of Tulane, transferred from Tulane to Duke. There's a little bit of growing pains there, even though he's an older guy. So Illinois, what we know that they're going to do is they're going to execute really well. They're coached really well. Luke Altmaier is a extremely, extremely veteran quarterback. He knows exactly how to play quarterback at a high level in the Power 4. Yesterday, he had some pretty impressive moves. There was one touchdown pass that he had, or maybe he was called back from a touchdown. It was called down at the 1 yard line, but scrambling everywhere. Even though he was under pressure all day from Duke's defensive line, he was able to make a good play. That's going to be the next threat up on Ohio State's schedule. But if Duke is able to get after Luke Altmaier like crazy and run up sacks, and that's Duke, you have to imagine that it's going to be worse when they're playing only 5 stars, when they're playing Ohio State. Even if we are going to be playing that in Illinois, we're going to go on the road for that one. There still really isn't anything to be super afraid of when it comes to Illinois, although, it's going to be a good test. You want to make sure you're always getting tested, always getting ready. Wisconsin, we don't really know what they are going to be this year so far. It's still very early. And then the exciting game, Penn State. They are ranked 2, could be a 1 versus 2 matchup. The only thing that Penn State really has on us right now is the fact that their quarterback is significantly more experienced than Julian Sayin is. We're hoping, and I think it's a very safe projection, that Julian Sayin will continue to develop and continue to play just a little bit better every single week. If he gets better by 1 or 2 or 3%, that's going to be a lot of improvement by the end of the season when it really matters. But against Penn State, it's going to be massive for Big Ten standings at the end of the year, potential championship, who's in, who's not. And then maybe this season, the way that the college football playoffs field is being seeded, they're not doing the automatic buys with just because you won your conference championship. They're going to just seed the field. So we want to make sure that we can take down Penn State because we want to make sure that we're getting, obviously, the highest seed possible. Although, even though Penn State's ranked number 2, I will trust James Franklin as an underdog or in a big game when he can win a big game. Right now, James Franklin is absolutely horrible in big games. Penn State doesn't win them ever. I call them the most projectable team in college football. All you have to do when you're guessing the outcome of a Penn State game, you ask yourself, are they playing against an elite team? If the answer is yes, you fade Penn State. If they're not playing an elite team, Penn State always takes care of business. They're going to be rolling out Nick Singleton. They got really good running backs. Probably the best group of running backs in the country belongs to Penn State, but we are going to be able to shut that down. If we're able to make Arch Manning look as bad as he looked, I know he missed a couple wide open wide receivers, but this defense is going to put anyone and everyone in the blender, and I can't wait to see how this season turns out after the season really gets rolling. It's fun to put up 70-0 on Grambling, but at the same time, that's not how you get better. You get better by challenging yourself, which is why it was great to see that Texas game out the gate early. I would love to see Texas again later on in the season because I think the teams, it would be a great matchup to watch both those sides go at it again when both quarterbacks had more experience. It felt like that first game, it was really weird because both of the quarterbacks were so inexperienced, and I feel like it wasn't as genuine of a top matchup as it could have been, and I would expect the score to be significantly higher. That's something I would be definitely rooting for when it comes to the playoffs. I'm not going to say should we be there. Barring catastrophic collapse, Ohio State's going to be there, but that's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, thanks for watching. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Please hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and go Buckeyes.